But are these games going to be rare and collectible? That's usually what people want to know. Hello, everybody. I'm on a quest to beat 1,000 games on the Nintendo Switch series of consoles. But in this episode, I'm going a step further because I'm going to be talking about a game's rarity slash collectability by combining two of the most important factors that I believe make a game rare and collectible: its overall gameplay and the value. I have come up with a rating system. Let's dive a little bit deeper by talking about the first game on the list: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade: Wrath of the Mutants. Now, if this game holds true to the iconic Turtles formula, this should be a fun-to-play action platformer, or perhaps a beat 'em up. You know, the types of games that we grew up in the arcades back in the day, or maybe a lot of people played on the SNES or Genesis. We have had some good ones, especially on the Nintendo Switch. But unfortunately, this is not one of them. From the generic gameplay, to the boring boss battles, to the extremely repetitive and terrible dialogue, this game really fell through. Unfortunately, it's a Game Mill published game, which kind of resonates with poor quality. So for me, the gameplay was just a 2 out of 5. I had to give it more than a 1 because I at least beat the game and I did not run into any bugs. A 2 out of 5 was the best I could do. In terms of value, that's a little bit more of a tricky question to answer, because I think that as these iconic franchises or licensed franchises become more desirable, people are going to pay a little bit more than what they're worth, especially in the case with this game. Currently, the game is around $11 to $15, and I personally don't think that it's going to go over $20, not for a long time, unless everyone wants to collect those Switch Turtle games, which there are quite a few of. Then I can see this game maybe creeping up to $30. But you know what? I'm going to stay conservative. I'm going to give the value prospect of this game to be a 2 out of 5. So my overall collectability score for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade: Wrath of the Mutants, what a title, is 4 out of 10. I would say skip it, but do your thing. Next up is Castle of Shikigami 2. This is a shmup that has a story, but really when it comes to shmups, does anyone truly care? I don't. But the shmup does one thing that it needs to do. It's fun, it's difficult, it's chaotic, and it basically sticks to the tried and true formula of what a shmup is supposed to be. In terms of going above and beyond, that is not happening with Castle of Shikigami 2. It's a nice port on the Nintendo Switch, as I believe this game was released elsewhere previously. But honestly, that's about the only thing I can say about it. Yes, it has a story, like I said, has some cool characters with different weapons, etc. But to me, unless a shmup really stands out, they all kind of play and feel the same. I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest shmup enthusiast out here, but I like them though. And that's why I'm going to give this game a fun factor of 3 out of 5. In terms of collectability though, this is another one of those wild cards. You never know which direction a shmup is going to go in. But once again, the Switch has a lot of really good ones. And if someone is going for a complete shmup collection on the Nintendo Switch, this game I can see eventually getting to the maybe $30, $35 range down the road. I don't think it's going to go further than that, because if you look at the predecessors that were released elsewhere, they're really not all that valuable. It's a good shmup, but it's not all that desirable amongst collectors. So for me, the max I'm willing to give this game in terms of value is a 3 out of 5. So my overall score for Castle of Shikigami 2 is a 6 out of 10. Something to consider. Next up is Mario Golf Super Rush. Now you guys, whoever have been on my channel for a while, know how much I love this game. When it comes to arcade sports titles, there are a few iconic franchises out there like NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, and other versions of NBA NFL games that are out there. But when it comes to Nintendo, you're primarily looking at soccer, you're looking at tennis, and of course you're looking at golf. Of course there are other games too, but those are the three main ones featuring Mario. And this game did not disappoint me one bit, especially since they added a whole bunch of additional courses and other challenges for you to compete in along with the base package for free. So once everything is said and done, I think this is a very competent arcade sports golf game. The fun factor is high. I don't know why people hate it, but they do. Anyways, I don't really care, but to me, this game has a fun factor of 5 out of 5. And just be warned, this is one of those games that I can see really getting into high demand, especially if Mario is, or Nintendo is done with arcade golf games. Not likely, but you never know. In terms of value, I can also see this game eventually landing somewhere in between $50 to $100. On my scale, that is about a 4 out of 5. I honestly think that these games that Nintendo released on the Switch, the arcade games and a lot of other Nintendo exclusives, are gonna age like fine wine. They're gonna become more desirable. They're already pretty well liked amongst many of the community members, and even the criticisms, I think, are kind of gonna go away once more people get exposed to these games. So yeah, I'm gonna stick this game in the 4 out of 5 in terms of value, which gives this game an overall collectability score of 9 out of 10. In other words, you probably should consider adding this game to your collection. Now let's talk about a big one. The 100-Line Last Defense Academy. Part visual novel, part tactical turn-based RPG, and part crazy. And I do mean a big part crazy. This is a fabulous visual novel. People sang high praises for this game when it was released initially, and I can see why. I was hesitant to dive into it because this game is a marathon. It takes a while to beat it. You can't just beat it once, you have to at least beat it twice in order to figure out what is actually going on. Having said that, you absolutely do want to beat this game twice because it is worth it. If you like crazy, over-the-top visual novels with a heavy science fiction touch, think 13 Sentinels, for example. Not the same thing, but equally crazy. If you have played Danganronpa, for example, you kind of know what to expect. I loved the 100-Line Last Defense Academy game. Great. The tactical turn-based combat is not its strongest suit, but it gets the job done. And I love those types of games. So for me, the gameplay is an easy 5 out of 5. In terms of value, what do I think the 100-Line Last Defense Academy will fetch sometime down the road? Well, a collector's edition already goes for about $130 to $150 on the eBay market. This one I think is around the $50 range right now. I honestly don't see this game dropping. Maybe it will have a little bit of a dip. Maybe 1 or 2 sales, the game will drop in price. But eventually, this game is going to go up. And if people are looking for a curated collection to build their Nintendo Switch games collection with, this should be, and in most likely in cases, will be part of their collection. This game, in my opinion, is going to go over the $100 range down the road. That's why I'm giving this game a value score of 5 out of 5. So my overall collectability score for 100-Line Last Defense Academy is a whopping 10 out of 10. This is a no-brainer, folks. You want a curated collection? You need to add this game. Next up is Slipstream. I love 80s and 90s arcade style racers. Whether you played them in the arcades, whether you played them on your home consoles, you know the style I'm talking about. But yes, Slipstream is another perfect nostalgic boost of adrenaline that you get when you are craving those 90s style arcade racers. You know, the likes of Outrun, for example. I love Slipstream. I did not know what I was getting into, but I did hear a few people talk about it. And to my surprise, once I started playing it, I didn't stop. Now, when it comes to the Switch, there are quite a few arcade races out there. Of course, you have the Mario Karts, you also have Horizon Chase Turbo, and who can forget about Cruisin' Blast? Another amazing title. But Slipstream, I think, is right there with those. And this is a game that is not nearly as much talked about as some of the others that I've mentioned earlier. Having said that, the game is still not perfect. I mean, the music is great, the racing is great, everything about it is great, but I still feel that it feels like an indie game. I don't know. Maybe the AI is not the greatest out there, but still, an easy gameplay score of 4 out of 5. In terms of collectability, I can see this game landing somewhere between the $50 to $100 range sometime in the future. It could go even higher because this is a limited run published game, but usually with racing games, that's not the case. So probably I'm going to stay, somewhere around 50 to 100, which on my scale is about a 4 out of 5 in terms of value. So overall, this game has a collectability score of 8 out of 10. Should you add it? In my opinion, absolutely. Now let's talk about Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. For whatever reason, people did not enjoy this port on the Nintendo Switch. I don't know why. I mean, personally, I think the 3DS version of this game, which was Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, that game was technically better because you could play it in 3D, which I think helps this game. But overall, Nintendo made a great port. You go from mansion to mansion, solving puzzles, fighting ghosts, and eventually figuring out, what you need to do. You're going to fight some bosses and eventually help somebody out. You probably, if you have played other games in the series, you know what I'm talking about. It's no secret, but it's just a fun little adventure style combat game that really gets the job done, especially if you want to play something with your kids around Halloween. I really had a great time with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I think it is very underrated, very underappreciated, and I'm easily giving this game a 5 out of 5. In terms of gameplay. Value, I'm not going to sleep on any Mario or Luigi game on the Switch. This game could go higher, but I think I'm going to stay conservative and say that in the long run, if we don't get a whole lot more games on the Nintendo Switch, or this franchise kind of dies down, I can easily see this game being somewhere in the $50 to $100 range years down the road. So that gives me a collectability score or value of 4 out of 5. So my overall collectability score for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is 9 out of 10. Don't listen to the critics. I don't care what other people say. This game is a fun Luigi's Mansion game, definitely worth playing and adding to your collection. And that wraps up this episode, folks. We have added 6 more games to our 1,000 games beaten journey, and we have talked about the collectability and rarity, potential rarity, for some of these games. If you enjoyed the video, well, I hope you will enjoy more to come because that's what I plan to do from here on out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk again soon.